Hi everyone, and thank you for joining me for another pick a card reading. Today's theme has a lot to do with this upcoming really important energy shift that is knocking at our doors both individually and collectively. I'm speaking about the nodes of the moon changing signs. And the reason why this is so very important is that this is the Taurus and Scorpio axis, which means down to earth matters, down to earth business. Whatever might take place in our lives in the next 18 months, well, it will impact us in a very physical, down to earth, concrete, telluric way, so to speak. And at the same time, the Scorpio, this is a really massive detox, emotional, psychological, even spiritual detox that all of us are signed up for, like it or not. So this is the game changer. But before I begin, I would just like to mention that this is not necessarily a predictive reading, in the sense that with Uranus in that part of the sky, Taurus, the future is very uncertain. Anything can literally happen. This is where absolutely nothing is set into stone, because Taurus is the symbolism of that, all of that which is set into stone or should be set into stone. But Uranus is the bomb. Uranus is the earthquake. It can destroy even mountains with little effort. Just think about the symbolism of Uranus. From a mythological perspective, Uranus is the god of the sky. There was Gaia, the earth, the stable, the fertile, that which gave birth. But of course she was pretty lonely. So there was Uranus, the god of the sky, who birthed her very many children, but not necessarily in a very gentle manner, if you know what I mean. Like a lightning, like a earthquake. He just struck down on her, and that was a spontaneous and very random and quite violent act of creation, and that is the nature of Uranus. If something can change Gaia, symbolically speaking, mythologically, well, that is Uranus. And when these two very unusual cosmic lovers meet, as in Uranus entering in the sign of Taurus, that is when nothing, even that which should be set in stone, should be stable, even should have permanence, immortality, so to speak, well, it changes. And the last time Uranus was in the sign of Taurus was in the 1930s, the Great Depression, and everything changed from there. The values and the value system of the whole planet kind of transformed. So where I'm going with this is, whenever we have such a very active and powerful Uranus, to try and predict something is futile. So let's just take it as what we might be guided to change, create, eliminate, transform in our lives, especially where we need to be very stable, committed, consistent, so Taurus. Like always, the instructions are simple. Just take a look at the 4 pile of cards for a couple of seconds, or as long as you need to, and then choose one which resonates with your intuitive senses the most. The timestamps can be found in the comments and also in the description of the video. And with this being said, let's begin our reading. Hello everyone who has chosen the first pile. Your cards are the Emperor, the 8 of Cups, the 10 of Swords, and the Ace of Pentacles. Now, chances are that for you guys, it is definitely going to be a year which will change your life forever from a material perspective. But it is you guys, the pile ones, who might be a prime example, an embodiment of the principle as within, so without. Because first of all, it is a very profound psychological change. This is symbolized by the Emperor and the 8 of Cups, which represents that before anything happens from a material perspective, you guys are gonna be strongly called by inner forces and of course outside triggers in the shape and form of other people to take back control over your lives. Maybe until this moment, until this year, perhaps in the past 4 years of your lives, you adapted a much more go with the flow kind of attitude, and of course it worked, it kept you going, and a lot of very, very important events have been taken place in your lives exactly because you went with the flow, exactly because you displayed courage, you displayed a lot of adaptability and resilience, because going with the flow also meant facing a lot of hardships, not running away from problems, not running away from confrontations, not running away from uncomfortable situations, because sometimes the flow delivered surprises, delightful moments, even recognition and honor one way or another for your strong emotional, psychological maturity, life experience, diligence, and spirit of compassion. But of course, other times the flow delivered blockages, problems, confrontations, and certain moments which did reflect your wounds. May that be in shape or form of other people, their words, their reactions, their envy, their sabotage, and you had to face them and you had to make really, really difficult choices. You had to stand up for yourself. Some of you guys had to say no, and that might be something very hard for you, because I do sense that from childhood, maybe you have this pattern that you wish to please others, you wish to make other people happy. You might put the priorities of other people before your own. And of course, this speaks volumes about how compassionate, how truly selfless you guys are. But other times, this is a big act of self-sabotage, because if there was a massive karmic lesson for you personally in your lives, in your destinies even, well, that was that the road to hell is definitely paved with good intentions, because sometimes other people had this tendency to kind of use you, to kind of profit off you, exactly because you found it difficult to say no, you found it difficult not to lend a helping hand, even if it was the 100th time when this was asked from you. And maybe the education or upbringing that you received when you were a child, your parents kind of programmed it in you. And when I say this, I don't mean it in a bad way, like manipulation or stuff like that. But maybe this was the custom, this was their life principle of your parents, a strong sense of duty that you have to be strong, you have to endure, you have to give your best, always 100%. And moments of indulgence, moments of weakness even, were seen as perhaps laziness or not having a very strong backbone. So this was a wound that was salted, so to speak, by the karmic forces in the past 4 years of your lives. So this is where going with the flow has to end. It has to come to a stop. As adventurous and for some people even miraculous as it was until now, miraculous in the sense that life supported you. Yes, you had a lot of inconveniences, blockages, pains, and irritations, people really triggering you, but you also had moments when you said, I can't believe that this happened, too good to be true. You kind of felt that the flow was more supportive, much more supportive than blocking. But this also meant that you were at life's mercy. You were always at life's terms and conditions, and never really a good negotiator with life, because you had to allow and you had a lot of moments of surrender when you had an idea, you had a visage in your mind. For some people, quite practically, like a project, like a goal, future goal, how to accomplish something, maybe at work, in your careers, etc., something for the future, and it never worked out the way you planned, so you always had to surrender. Yes, you got there. Yes, the flow delivered it to you, many times even in a more perfect way that you could have ever imagined, but that ends now. This is where you need to be the king of your own castle, and this is where you have to set your own terms and conditions, your own sovereignty, your own even dominance in everything that happens in your life. This is where you have to navigate in life based on your purposes, on your goals, on your plans even, regardless of how the flow is. And this is a rather uncomfortable energy for you at first, because things will not be delivered to you. Maybe the intervention of the divine forces is not gonna be the way it was until now. This is where the universe just doesn't deliver things to you anymore. There's no big synchronicity, there's no miraculous connection, but it is more like it empowers your will, it gives you the strength, the ambition, the resilience, and even the financial resources if needed, or connections or whatever, to get where you want to be, where you need to be, where you're planning to be, your terms and conditions. But you also need to fight. You also need to stand up for yourself, say a lot of no's, say a lot of, I'm really sorry, but I cannot help you anymore, because right now it is my life that I have to start constructing. And when it comes to adaptation, you just have to adapt to your plans, to your sovereign will. Many times it is going to be your way or the highway, even though, in the past, in the recent past, that was actually the opposite of what you had to do. So this will be like a really, really massive shift for you, especially psychologically. And at the same time, we have the Ten of Swords. This also represents that certain routines or habits in your life need to end. This Eight of Cups can suggest, for example, escapism, something illusionary of nature or substances which brings you pleasure, which really, really, charges you up emotionally. It inspires you, it basically lets you escape from a very rigid reality, so to speak. And that might have been a very good source of soul food for you guys. Inspiration, connecting to yourself, creating a very, very calm and soothing environment, self-care, etc. Or basically having fun, especially if that is some game or some fantasy or anything which might have to do with escapism. But unfortunately, this is where that has to end. That will not be a resource anymore. This Eight of Cups also represents a certain stage of emotional healing where even if some bad things happen to you in the distant past, traumatic things, things which really, really impacted your psychological setup, you have done a lot of inner work, but this is where you really need to surrender that, in the sense that whatever happened to you, and regardless of how it impacted your life, it can no longer be an excuse for anything. Like, let me just give you an example. If you guys might be experiencing social anxiety, and that is sometimes an excuse not to do this, not to go here, not to go to that job interview, not to negotiate a project, a contract, anything of that nature, this is where this year you will have no choice. It's almost like there is no more excuses. You just have to do it. If you have a will, if you have a desire, if you have a plan, if you have a project, if you have something in mind, or if you want to accomplish something materially in your life, there's no more excuses. You need to do what you need to do, regardless of your setup, regardless of your past, regardless of what happened to you, including if this is something romantic. Let's say that you're single and you're looking for that very special person, or you just don't want to be as lonely anymore. And if you have any wounds in this sense, which might block you, which might make you not very courageous or mistrusting people, etc., etc., this year it cannot be an excuse, because if you use it an excuse for yourself not to, I don't know, do that brave gesture and say yes to a date, or shy away, or go to that job interview and not express your true personality, it will defeat you. So you will have no choice but to truly be strong and serious now. But the reward is massive, the Ace of Coins. This Ace of Coins represent accomplishing exactly what you wanted, what you worked for, what you planned. Finding a solution, finding certain resources, finding a way to accomplish that which you are planning, as I said, on your terms, where you are the emperor, you are the king of your own castle, in your own sovereign way, that will be supported and successful, and it will get you where you need to be, what you want, and also it will make you happy, and it will make you healthier, even physically, even mentally, even psychologically, because you will be the king, you will be the emperor, you will be that Aries, the fighter, the initiator, who has courage, who has trust in themselves, in their instincts, in their inner power, in their willpower, and perhaps this trust in the primal parts of ourselves is very, very alien to you. It is something that you kind of had to surrender in the past 4 years, but that was temporary. Who you truly are within yourself, maybe you have a very strong Aries placement in your chart, that is being reborn, that is being reactivated. This is where, like it or not, you will become a fighter. A fighter doesn't need excuses, It doesn't need escapism. It doesn't need certain routines where you just lick your own wounds and comfort yourself, and you sprinkle sugar and honey on your soul and make yourself feel better. You won't need that anymore. You'll be healthy, you'll be alive, you'll be powerful. And basically what the nodal shift is wanting to inspire in your life is simply the attitude to fight and just do it and believe that you can do it. This doesn't mean that you won't lose certain battles. This doesn't mean that life will not fight back at times. Yet still, the war, so to speak, is not lost if you lose just one battle. This is where you're meant to be triumphant. So you need to be your bravest, strongest, and most sovereign self and do everything that is uncomfortable, because ultimately, with each success, you will just show yourself that it's possible. And after you show that it's possible, you show that it's even easy, that you're meant for this, that this attitude in life fits you like a glove. This is who you truly are deep within yourself. And asserting your will doesn't make you a tyrant. It makes you a balanced and very healthy human being. So this is what is going to be inspired for you in your life. Thank you so much for listening and being here. Until next time. Hello everyone who has chosen the second pile. Your cards are the Ten of Swords reversed, the King of Pentacles, the Strength, and the Two of Wands. Now this immediately represents a highly scorpionic energy. So maybe for you personally, it's actually that South Node in the sign of Scorpio that is going to represent the greater influence. This energy, perhaps as soon as it touches the signs, so basically the 18th of January, it will already stir you up very, very strongly from deep within, especially your instincts, especially that strong instinctual survivor within yourself. Because this Ten of Swords in reverse position does suggest that you had a lot of battles in the past 10 years of your lives, but mostly in 2019, 2020 and 2021. And when I say battles, well, it's not necessarily with another person. It's more like with life. It's more like with destiny. This is where you might have had a big moment of perhaps loss, perhaps something not so favorable happened in your life. Maybe it was like, for example, a divorce, or losing your job career, or something health-wise. Maybe a big decline in your health, or something which truly put you down, so to speak. And you had to pick yourself up. And of course you asked yourself, like, why did this happen to me? And more importantly, why so intensely? It was almost like vengeance from destiny, from karma, whereas you are definitely not kind of people who have like severe bad karma. Quite the contrary. You were always very, very aware of the power that karma has. So you never done something which you would not have liked to be done to you, or at least in the worst case scenario, something that you could not cope with if another person would have done that to you. You actually always focused a lot on morality, so you didn't really understand why this happened to you until you soul searched, of course, and you got the picture that it's time to change. It's time to get really, really serious about you. It's time to show yourself and the world who you truly are deep inside, and not play by certain rules which, society's rules, for example, your community's rules, or for example, within a career, the tradition, the custom, the norm, how one has to reach professional achievement, etc. So there was a lot of, how should I even say this, rules or the norm or tradition, the traditional approach, which actually started blocking you, irritating you, and transforming you into a person who you didn't recognize anymore, and you started to be very, very uncomfortable with it. But because your life was more or less stable and it provided you with everything that you needed, how would you change just on your own? So basically, fate or life or karma or the divine intervention delivered that punch to you. It demolished your tower, so to speak, exactly to get you out of your comfort zone and hold the mirror so that you look into it and see who you truly are. Because chances are, whatever you were doing, you did not use your true potential. You did not use your true talents, regardless of what that is. You are someone who was blessed with a lot of inner resources. May that be intelligence, creativity, emotional intelligence, artistic skills. You're really, really, really good at something. So the universe said, this is when you have to use it to survive, or at least you have to change your life in such a way where that side of you can exist, it can express itself, because otherwise it's like a grave, it's like a tomb. It's not good for you, and it loved you so much, as in the universe, the creator, or call it whatever you want, that it kind of chose to hurt you for the reason to hold the mirror and force you to look into it and see who you truly are and just how much you're missing out on. And this Ten of Swords does represent that you really, really tried. You were very, very serious about it. You done everything in your power not necessarily to create a perfect life for yourself, but to try and try and try and see where it gets you. And you had a lot of moments of success, but at the same time, I do sense that you really put your power, whatever exactly you were blessed with, may it be intelligence, creativity, artistic, whatever that was, you really input this energy, this strength of yours into something, maybe a project, maybe freelancing, maybe a career change, maybe just a modus vivendi change, or just living life in a totally different way, and it wasn't as successful as you needed it to be. Of course, perhaps whatever happened collectively, the coronavirus and all of that, was not as helpful in a practical sense as in a material sense, but from a psychological sense, you were one of those people who was actually stronger than you've ever been in your life. So in that sense, it actually done miracles for you. And right now, perhaps even in this moment when you're listening to this, you are in this Ten of Swords reverse situation. You know deep within you, without even a tiny doubt, that the old cycle ended, life is already different, but it's not stable yet. You're neither defeated, you have not surrendered your efforts and whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, the massive life change that you were guided to execute, so to speak, but neither can you see the future, the potential outcome. You cannot sense stability yet. You cannot see the way it comes together in such a way that it gives you a very, very stable and grounded life where you can actually just express yourself and be happy with your modus vivendi. And for that, exactly to accomplish that, what you're actually missing but don't know it yet, it's a very, very strong activation of your instincts. This is the scorpionic energy, the inner animal. The animal which, of course, there is a certain brutality to it, there is a certain primal nature, but at the same time within that primal nature, you're connected to Mother Nature. And that means you have within you, in your genes, in your body, not necessarily spirit and stuff like that. This is definitely not the spiritual energy. This is the raw earthly energy of nature's unique intelligence. Like, let me just give you an example. There are so very many animals, especially like insects, invertebrates, or whatever, who don't necessarily receive any parental care or anything at the moment, the very second when they are born. There's the egg they hatch and every man for himself after. Yet they know exactly what it is that they need to do. They know exactly from the first breath, from the first second, how to use their natural weapons, defenses, etc. And they know how to navigate. And they are newborn, so that is the type of energy that is activating nature's own intelligence. You will just know what you need to do, when you need to do it, how you need to do it, by sheer instinct, by sheer gut feeling. So perhaps this is where this scorpionic activation, when it happens, it will send you into a certain kind of fight or flight mode where you will just, and this is maybe a not very favorable expression of what I want to say, possessed by this strong urge to make it, this strong urge to have that position of the King of Pentacles, the stability where you are surviving, your life is stable because your inner world is stable, because your instincts are activated maximally, where you feel that not only can you survive, but you can accomplish what you need to accomplish. And this in turn will lead you to a lot of moments of maximum bravery, a lot of moments of courage, and a lot of moments when certain choices to a want that you will have to make will resonate so deeply that there will be no question in your mind what to do, if it's right or wrong choice, if it's a mistake or not a mistake. You will simply know what to do, and with each step you will get there. You will get into the position of the King of Coins, stability, being able to provide for yourself, but in such a manner where you're genuinely you're your authentic expression in any way, shape, or form. And ultimately, this Two of Wands can represent partnership, getting connected to a person who is genuinely a reflection of who you also are. A very important connection, may it be a social connection, business partner, associate, a friendship, or even romantic connection, where that person is exactly who you need and you are exactly what that person needs. So this will create a strong alliance where it is not just you providing that strong stability for your life, but it's also that person, and this is like a symbiotic connection. And if, romance or finding the perfect partner is the main theme of what you need to accomplish this year, well, in that case, it's not going to be any spiritual element, not going to be intuition, not going to be like soulmate kind of things that will show you who the right person is. It is your instinct or your hormones, or it's a very sensual energy as well. This is where maybe for the first time your body, your genes, your gut, your passion centers will know much better than anything spiritual, this is where it's not your higher self, this is where it's actually your lower self that will guide you exactly where you need to be. And when you get there, when you embody this King of Pentacles, well, then you can do whatever you want. You can spiritualize as much or as little as you feel like it, because you will be you. You will have the power in your life. And this Ten of Swords reversed, including the past, including the struggles of the past, including the vulnerable person, the lost person who you were in the past, is history. That is just a memory. When you look back to this year, 2022, in a few years, for you it will seem like a moment of rebirth, a genuine rebirth, when that was your old life, and you might even refer to it as the old life, almost like a past incarnation, and who this year will turn you into or create the new you, not even new you, the real you, that will be your new life. But as I say, it's really a question of modus vivendi, how you live your life. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time. Hello everyone who has chosen the third pile. Your cards are the Ace of Cups, the Moon, the Ace of Swords, and the Judgment. Now this is truly a massive karmic energy. Maybe if you have chosen this third pile, maybe this is actually the year of your nodal return. And what I mean with nodal return, when your native north node and south node meet the transiting one. And of course, this takes place every 18 years. The first one is usually around when we are 18, when we step symbolically into maturity. In many cultures on the planet, 18 is the maturization year, when you are able to get driver's license and drink alcohol and everything that is banned for minors. Of course, in other parts of the world, it's a different age, but in many cultures, including my own, it's actually 18. So that is very, very symbolic, because even astrologically, that is a nodal return. That is when, you are stepping into real life as an adult, like it or not, including karmically. So if this is your nodal return year, you can imagine that it's a big, big event for you. And I do sense that this Ace of Cups represent a karmic debt almost, where the one who owes you something is exactly the divine, because Cups is emotional energy, Cups is Piscean energy, and it can represent Jupiter's transit in the sign of Pisces, which means wish fulfillment, especially if it's your nodal return year or if it's in a very strong position in your personal chart. And the universe kind of owes you a cup full, a holy grail, so to speak, full of emotional healing, because I do sense that perhaps all your life, ever since childhood, you were a kind of person who gave life water, symbolically to be understood, emotional support, kindness, consideration, encouragement, inspiration to everyone in your life, and many times that drained you so much that you entered into a state of like a void, a depression, where your soul dried out. Maybe you were a person who had a lot of heartaches all through your life, where people really let you down, people who you nurtured, who you supported. So for some of this group, even material support. This is where maybe you worked for a partner, you supported them materially and they betrayed you or just abandoned you. Maybe one of your biggest wounds is abandonment, the fear of being abandoned, because this pattern played out so many times in your life. Or maybe this happened in your family of origin, your parents abandoned one another, or a parent abandoned you, or something happened. So the universe now has to fill your cup, the well of your soul, the well of your emotional and creative center. So that is very, very important. But the thing is, all of this is under a shroud of mystery. And also at the same time, perhaps 2 years ago or in the year 2020, there was a moment when you made either a pact or a promise to the divine, to yourself or the universe, something, or you simply, it was a moment when you got so determined that you said, well, this is how it's gonna be, and it's really my way or a highway. There's no negotiation. There's nothing that will deter me from following something that you decided or you judged. But when I say judge, it's something to do with you and yourself, how you see your life, how you see yourself, how you see reality. That kind of judgment, not the, bad kind of judgment. Judgment in the sense where you make such an important choice, an inner choice, that becomes your faith. That becomes your personal religion, so to speak. So you might have had a moment of big determination, and that was like, inputting a command line into your own destiny. That is where that is going to be executed. And the execution of that is the year 2022. That is the moment when it's going to start slowly taking place. And also, I do see a lot of work behind you. Emotional work, healing work, inner work, psychological work, physical work, creative work. So it's not the case of one or the other. It's all of this kind of work at the same time. That is where in the past 2 years or so, you burned a lot of energy, ambition, effort, sacrifice. You kind of did the impossible in many ways to show yourself mostly, and the universe and other people and everyone, that you're really committed and determined to end those patterns, to change your life in such a way where you will not be drained and leached emotionally, psychologically by anyone ever in your life. Maybe there was a really painful relationship that you suffered through. Maybe there was a kind of situation where you chose the other person over your own happiness and that harmed you very, very much. There was some self-sacrificial pattern in your past which really crushed you, almost like when you step on an ant. It was that very impactful, so to speak. So you needed to recover from that, and you also needed to change your ways, first of all, inside. Your mental patterns, your conditioning, your education, the way you kind of lived your life, your own rules and regulations. Maybe the strongest battle was with your own Saturn, your own judgment, the way you see yourself, the way you judge yourself, and you were a very unfair judge because you always found excuses for others and never for yourself. So you invited a lot of cruelty in your life, and I'm so sorry to say that. But anyway, that is over, that is done with, that is purged out. And this will be the moment of healing, the year of healing. First, the Ace of Cups. That means a blessing, either a wish fulfillment or something happens to you which makes you happy because ultimately it's Cups energy. Even if that is something physical, the happiness is that matters the most in this case. So something, someone, a situation, an event, a coincidence gives you a surprising happiness which very quickly fills your cup up with life water, with emotional power, with belief. And then we get to the moon. The moon is the soul. Your soul awakens. Your soul is energized. Not necessarily just in the positive way, because that also means that certain hurts and, emotional wishy-washiness, self-victimization is also amplified. It also awakens. But you're not the same person anymore, so that is child's play for you. You know all the right things you're an expert at self-nurture and self-care, because how else can you do that for another person? And that's what you have been doing all your life. You might be a psychologist, therapist, spiritualist, nurse, or teacher, someone who helps and inspires and nurtures other people on a daily basis, so you're expert at doing that to yourself. But of course, the positive also awakens dreams, aspirations, strong resonance. It's almost like stepping into a dimension of mystery, a dimension where everything is alive, everything is magical. The future looks bright in the sense that it's under a total mystery, but you trust it. You just know in your heart of hearts that it's gonna be more than okay. You know in your heart of hearts that you will experience beautiful events, beautiful, meaningful, inspirational, lived experiences. And the uncertainty, the mystery of it all, even the fear, because sometimes there is going to be fear when you will be in a situation where if a miracle doesn't happen, it's definitely not going to be okay, but it will happen one after another, and it will bring back your innate trust in your own mojo, in your own charm, in your own magic. And the Ace of Cups is your connection with the divine becoming something else than it ever was. This is where you can trust it blindly, not because of faith in a religious sense, but because you will feel it in you. It will work within you like a mysterious machine. And then there comes the Ace of Swords, a massive breakthrough, something that you really, really need. And what does it do, the Judgment? Deliver you exactly that, either promise or judgment or pact you made with the universe or yourself. Whatever you said in 2020, that it's my way or the highway, this is how it has to be, that happens literally like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And from there on, Life is gonna be what you make it. It's almost like a resurrection of the child who you always should have been but couldn't be because of situations or, the past. Because with the inner child healed, with that strong sense of serendipity, you don't know yourself like that. You don't know how you truly are when your soul is so beautiful that it just shines. You never seen yourself ever in a genuine and authentic, happy and blissful state where life is just beautiful and period. So that is the mystery that you will have to decipher on your own, how life is for a person who you could not have been until now. So thank you so much for listening. Until next time. Hello everyone who has chosen the fourth and final pile. Your cards are the Empress reversed, the Four of Swords, the Judgment reversed, and the King of Pentacles. Now for you guys, I must admit that this might be a very, very chaotic year, but not in the bad sense, but actually in the good sense. This Empress reversed with the Four of Swords and Judgment reversed does represent that one way or another, for some of you guys in the past 3 years of your lives, for other people, unfortunately, all your lives, you were deprived of pleasure, whatever that means. It was almost like a massive, unpassable bridge between you and the norm, the other people. This is where, for some reason, for some people it's material condition, unfortunately, poverty. For other people it's like very severe social anxiety. For other people maybe it's emotional issue or something like that, where you could not experience the same pleasures as any other normal human being. And that really turned your Empress into a barren, cold and dark embodiment of herself, like a vile old wicked woman who was tortured all her life, so of course she became just a shadow of herself. Of course, what you have done with your lives and yourself was the opposite. Your wounds or whatever, this deprivation of pleasure, deprivation of feeling alive and being okay with it, did not turn you into not even remotely a bad person. It sadly, I say, it turned you into the opposite. A lot of sacrifice, a lot of understanding, a lot of discipline, a lot of having to be your own parent, having to be your own partner, having to be everything for you and yourself. And that was hard, but it turned you into an infinitely strong person. It turned you into a person so strong that if you look back through your life, to your history, you accomplished things which were impossible in any way, shape or form. Professionally, as in any way. Another person would have been totally lost. So basically, this year has to be the year of gratitude. First of all, gratitude to yourself. When you look back, the Scorpio, on South Node in Scorpio, it evokes the past and everything. And this is where the past is going to be evoked, but not in the painful sense, but in the sense that give credit to yourself for every single moment when you were strong, for every single moment when you didn't turn into a victim who just gives up on everything, when you didn't become just an empty shell despite you not being able to nurture your human self, your incarnated being, with pleasure, with life, with everything that is included in life. You still were a truly wonderful person, an epitome of beauty, very artistic, very full of life, and very optimistic, very light-hearted, humorous, full of jokes, full of the beauty of life. So that was like a living dichotomy. How could you be that when it is almost impossible psychologically? This reminds me on one hand of the legend of Chiron, the wounded healer, who received a mortal wound and still did not give up, and Jupiter, the king of the gods, Zeus, rewarded him by making him an immortal constellation. That was the only way he could relieve Chiron from his pain. Or perhaps, going back to this Empress reversed, the legend of Persephone, where when Persephone left her mother Demetra, goddess of the cycles of nature, her depression created winter when everything died. But when Persephone returned back to her mother, spring came and the world was filled with life, with flowers, with the song of the birds, with scents, everything Taurian in nature basically. And perhaps this year, 2022, is gonna be the year when your own unique Persephone returns to you, and your inner Empress, your inner Demetra series is gonna snap out of that cold, dark winter, and life is gonna be beautiful again. And that beauty is symbolized by the King of Pentacles. Also, another, let's say, nuance of this nodal return for you guys might not necessarily have that much to do with your past. Maybe some of you guys might be suffering from severe anxiety, from severe stress, from a very powerful inner restlessness, and this might have to do with an old job that you did, or a moment in your life when you exhausted yourself so much that your body just snapped, and you might have been suffering from that ever since. This is when the suffering, the anxiety, the restlessness, the sleeplessness perhaps ends, and peace kind of descends onto your soul. And this King of Pentacles is very, very important, because some of you guys might relocate to a house or a place or a maybe country or whatever where you're gonna feel like at home. It's gonna feel like that is your home. And the comfort that you will experience, well, that is when the anxiety will be ancient history. In a second, in an instant. And this is also the judgment reversed. Whatever your soul was seeking, your place in the world, well, you're gonna find it. Either it will come to you, or by sheer coincidence you will find it. But this is where life truly changes. And life is gonna be pleasurable and bright and sunny once again. Maybe for some of you guys, it can also be solitary, but this is where solitude is what you desire the most. While for other people, quite the opposite. A lot of comfort will gonna come from a partner who is gonna be so amazing with you guys that it will just heal you each and every second with each word that person says to you, not to mention all the other things. So thank you so much for listening. Until next time, bye for now.